So behind the wheel of the Odyssey, so far so good in terms of the driving. I don't know if I conveyed it well enough, but this van is so impressive just in terms with all of the features you get, and then on top of that, all of the safety tech that you get as well. But everything, it goes to show you that this is one of the older vans just in terms of how long it's been around, and it hasn't necessarily been revamped. It's been redesigned and all of that, but they didn't take it away and bring it back and all that. So I'm just impressed with the storage, everything on this van. And on top of that, glad that they did not try to stick a CVT in this Odyssey. And also like that the 10-speed is in here as well. And that definitely helps with the highway fuel economy. But there's something about just having a traditional transmission as well. Even if you're not gonna have a spirited drive, I like having the option to put it into sport mode and then shift with the paddles. And even though it's not snappy, it gets the job done. And overall, especially under little to no throttle, the van itself is pretty quiet. And the acoustics within the van are very well insulated. Even though it's quite windy out right now, I feel like I'm in almost an echo chamber. But if I have 6 kids in the back, that can be a good thing or a bad thing. So they'll either be screaming my ears off and I can hear everything, but if I need to talk to them, I know that they can hear me. Now, in terms of just how the van drives overall, this is one of the best driving Hondas ever, in my opinion. Now, most minivans drive pretty well anyways, but this actually, it drives like the Honda Pilot in the sense that, of course, it has the same powertrain, but it's easy to drive. I don't feel like there's a huge learning curve. I don't feel like I have to worry as much about having a longer vehicle, especially if I'm going from like an Accord to this or something. I don't feel like it'll be any sort of issue for most people. The steering feels good. It's not tight, but it's also not terrible. When I think of terrible, I think about the 2018 RAV4s. Just cannot stand the steering in those. This feels like an Accord. Not 100%, but close enough. Now I have it in sport mode. I'm gonna give it just a bit of throttle getting on the interstate before I put it into economy. Yeah, the van just has a lot of power. And 280 is quite a bit for something like this, and the 10-speed does a good job at divvying it out. I'm gonna put it back into drive and then put the Econ on. And then lane centering, cruise control, blind spot monitor is going off there. You can see that. But Honda's safety system is pretty good, pretty much on par with Toyota's, just with the lane centering and the adaptive cruise. And like Toyota, I feel like it's a lot easier to find these with this equipment on, even models that are a few years older, as opposed to looking at some Chevys, Fords, even Chryslers. It's hard to come, you know, through the chip shortage. Some vehicles had it, others came standard, but when you got to the store, it was taken off, and so you don't have that issue here. Now, in terms of the competition, the Pacifica, the Sienna, for me, I feel like this is the best out of the few minivan options that are left, just because the overall usability, for me at least, I feel like this is the better of at least the two that I mentioned. And then of course you have the Kia Carnival as well. I'm sure I'm forgetting one other one or two, but especially for the money too, you can get up to 50K plus for a similarly equipped Pacifica, probably even a Sienna. You don't get the hybrid powertrain like you would in a Pacifica hybrid or the Sienna, but you're still getting about the same in terms of highway fuel economy. And if you don't do a lot of city driving, that's really not going to make a big difference if you are able to plug it in or if you have that battery sometimes. But for me, this is just a really, really good option. It checks all the boxes and then some. So this will bring me to the end of my review of the new 2023 Honda Odyssey Sport.